What do you do after you've lost your temper with your children? Do you feel incredibly guilty and beat yourself up as soon as they've closed their eyes, and you just think about how much you love them and how beautiful and innocent they are, and then go back to the couch and just beat yourself up for yelling too much that day or losing it in that one moment? If you're like most parents, then that's how most parents deal with feeling angry. The parents that I've surveyed in a recent questionnaire that I gave out, nearly everyone had mentioned their problems with feeling irritable or angry, or a good proportion had. And then also that they felt guilty afterwards, and they didn't know what to do about that. And as I'm not going to say reformed yeller, because I still do yell, but less than what I used to. And I tend to feel less guilty about it. I guess that's one of the big things that I've been able to really overcome. And less intensity as well, like in terms of how angry I get as well. And I find I can catch myself more. And I think that's a really important thing to focus on when we're trying to change any behavior, is to think of it as making progress but not being perfect. Just like if we were to think about another goal, like going to the gym or, running 5 kilometers, is that we wouldn't say on, one occasion, if you can't run a full 5 kilometers, that it's, that you're a failure or you're a terrible runner or there's no point in trying. You just have to, reframe the experience and think, okay, well, I'm going to run 3 kilometers and I will work towards running 5 kilometers, and then once you've run 5 kilometers, you can work your way up to just running that little bit faster each time. Ultimately, with just about any behavior, there's always a way that you can change the goalposts and make it feel like you need the behavior to be better. So it's always good to think, okay, well, I'm making progress towards that. And with emotions are obviously far less containable or manageable, or a way that you can directly reach a goal than running 5 kilometers is anyway. So emotions are certainly parts of our brain where the brain just kind of reacts to events or experiences, and largely emotions just come up out of just because of our entire life and all the things that we've experienced as the person that we are. Our genetics, temperament, our early childhood experiences, our hereditary factors, like, what your parents were like, what the grandparents were like. And, all of that stuff actually creates a certain wiring of why you behave the way that you do. And when you're a parent, there are so many aspects that just strip away all those layers and make it so difficult to be able to keep a lid on some of your emotions. So up until parenting, you were probably really able to manage temper or mood, or maybe you'd never really even noticed it before at all. And maybe it was something that would only ever happen if you were absolutely pushed to your absolute limit. And the reality is with parenting is that there are so many ways that you just push to the limit just about every day. It's relentless. It goes on every day for years, doesn't it? This sleep deprivation to start off with, and that can go on for years. It's just not something that goes away quickly, I'm sorry to say, to the new parents out there. Or even if it does get better, like even if your child's sleeping, often, parents can still just not sleep very well, or they're quite light in their sleep because they're expecting their children to wake up. And also just the exhaustion that then goes on throughout the course of the day as well, that then makes them more tired and then just not getting the restful sleep for whatever reasons. Anyway, and also just the sensory overload that happens. So the constant hearing of voices and needing to respond and giving and giving and giving and giving, and the all of those ways that you kind of need to be giving, and just the stimulation that happens all the time, and not having the capacity to be able to restore yourself. very regularly or very easily. And what other factors are involved, do you think, in being in the difficulties of parenting? So relationships as well. So your relationships with your friends often suffer. So it's really hard to meet up with your friends, especially if they've got kids too. So often you don't get to fill that cup as well. Relationship with your partner, often that's on the bottom of the pile. So the ability to be able to see your partner and connect with your partner also, and also conflicting ways in which you parent together, your own partner's needs and what they kind of bring into the relationship with you and to your children. Anyway, so there are so many different aspects to why you can feel overwhelmed, and also women's health as well. Like, so the hormonal changes that go on for women after childbirth, and from breastfeeding and adjusting to not breastfeeding, and just the hormones kind of realigning themselves after the journey of pregnancy and birth and feeding. And often that can mean that hormones don't kind of come back to where they were as well. So things like premenstrual tension can get a lot worse. And also all the other factors that I mentioned before make premenstrual tension a lot worse as well. You don't get any rest, you don't get to sleep properly, you don't get to do all your self-care strategies, you might be not eating so well, you might be drinking more, you might be drinking too much coffee. What else? Just not generally being able to do the things that you might need to do to manage PMS, and just being so easily triggered. Also, things like thyroid changes can happen, like as you get a bit older, like as into the late 30s and 40s, those sorts of things tend to come up, and that really kind of can affect how you kind of cope with your mood, and how irritability can kind of just come up out of nowhere. So I would always highly, highly recommend that you get checked out by a women's health doctor. So someone who specialises in women's health, not just any old GP, who really kind of understands premenstrual disorders or premenstrual tension or thyroid issues, and have a good thorough check for any of that stuff going on, because often that's a really large factor in being able to manage your mood. And even though it can still be difficult to manage, at least it might be able to help you monitor and kind of know when you're more likely to get angry, and also that you can be a lot more compassionate with yourself, hopefully, to realize that, you know, these hormonal shifts can really have an influence on the way that you react. So really important keys quickly are 4 little things that I like to think of once you've lost your cool or behaved in a way that you didn't like. It's really important to make a repair with your child. So that's number 1. So is basically make a repair and try again. So tell your child, I'm sorry I made a mistake, or I'm sorry I yelled. Mummy shouldn't have yelled. Blah, 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 blah. I was feeling really tired, and, when you didn't listen, that made me really angry, but Mummy will try it again without yelling. And then the second thing is that we need to, number 2, is to make sure that we're offering ourselves some self-compassion. And that might sound really foreign to you, to kind of reach in to yourself and remind yourself that you're a human being. Human beings make mistakes. Every single human being on the makes mistakes, because we're humans. We're not born perfect. But what is really important as a human being is to take responsibility. So this is the third thing, is taking responsibility for you and working on making a repair with your child, and knowing that it's really important in a healthy relationship to make a repair, like whenever there's kind of a fracture in a relationship. And the 4th thing that you can do then is to think about making up 5 positive things that you can do for every 1 negative interaction. So the Gottman Institute, who are a famous Institute for Research on Relationships, they indicated that actually healthy relationships have conflict. That's normal. So just because there's a presence of conflict doesn't make it bad. In fact, all healthy relationships should have conflict, in fact, because it gives an opportunity for education. So conflict is actually education. And for a child to experience all of the emotions and to kind of see that parents have a limit, sometimes parents will get angry, and that's a perfect opportunity to be able to teach your child about anger and also about what you could be doing instead too. So, and then also, like, coming back to that 5-to-1 ratio that the Gottman Institute say, is that you can actually buffer off the effects of yelling or anger from your child by making sure that there are 5 kind of positive interactions to make up for that -1. So yelling is not great, of course, and you don't have to look very far on Google to tell the effects of yelling. But yeah, this research study, quite a large research study that they did, indicated that if there's something negative that happens, make up for it 5 times. So with your kids, that might be giving them an extra cuddle once you've yelled, if they're happy to, giving them a kiss, sharing a joke, making fun of yourself, like when you've just yelled, or playing a quick game that they like, or getting them involved in helping with something that you're doing. I don't know, whatever it is that's likely to make them happy. Try that, because the yelling does not make you a terrible parent. In fact, it probably makes you a good parent, because it means that you care about something. So if you're yelling, it means that you're caring about looking after them, you're caring about them looking after themselves, and that that you're raising a good human being. So there are all sorts of ways that we might get triggered that might make us behave in those angry ways. But yeah, ultimately, forgive yourself, move on. It's not going to help by you saying that you're a terrible parent. Like, ultimately, that's going to be the worst part of it. You've just got to, 1, make a repair with your child, tell them why you got angry, say you're sorry, take responsibility, and offer yourself self-compassion and the 5-to-1 ratio. So I'd love to know how you go with that. Again, progress, not perfection. That's just the key. And the more that you practice this stuff around yelling, and I'm going to continue to do a bit of a series like on all the aspects of yelling and the things that you can do. But this was just a little video today anyway about some of the reasons why you might be getting angry, and there are those 4 things that you can do, like when you do get angry about something. But I'll continue to do some little short videos about this, and I'd love to know more of your comments about what you do or how you help yourself to stop feeling so guilty, and what your journey has been with yelling too. So I'll see you soon.